Hello everyone, Shroomraver here, and today I have something that I haven't done in a very long time indeed. Speaking of very long time indeed, it's been a while since I made a video, so hello everybody, I hope everyone is well. Better than me anyway. I am a little bit ill, as you might be able to tell from my voice, but yes, to business. Now, as many of you are no doubt going to be aware, the PPL, the Pokémon Premier League, made its glorious return earlier this year. I was fortunate enough to be part of the analyst team on with that. I've been part of every PPL in some shape or form, starting obviously with its inception, managing to win Season 2, job's a good one. But yes, with the Teal Mask DLC coming out, the powers that be, those in charge, in between the first and second two new seasons of the PPL, they decided that what they wanted was some kind of off-season deal with loads of different coaches, two divisions, the Flare division and the Bolt division, 14 coaches in each, to give other people a go at it, test out some of the new Pokemon, and have a laugh with it. And I was fortunate enough to be asked to be a part of it. So, for the first time in 5 years, Parasect Germain are back, baby! We are going to be taking part in the Bolt division of this kind of off-season PPL season, as it were. And this is going to be the draft analysis, what I decided to draft as my squad for the season. Very exciting stuff. So without further ado, let's jump right into the team I decided to draft. So, 14 people in my my division, say two divisions. Each division has the same draft, so the same Pokemon can be picked in either one. I was 7th out of the 14 in the draft order, which is not ideal, slap bang in the middle. But I'm kind of happy with the team I drafted, and bear in mind, like I say, it's been a while. I've missed out on 2 generations of competitive. I don't really know how to draft anymore, so I didn't go in with a plan per se. A few things were on my radar. But this is just going to be a chance to test out a bunch of new shit and see how it goes. So, let's get into it. First Pokemon I decided to draft for this season is going to be Annihilape. Yeah, Annihilape is in Ubers, in Smogon Tyrant and stuff, so it must be good. I'm told it's quite decent. Very powerful, very bulky. Joey, who won the first season of the new iteration of PPL, used it very well. I'm excited to give it a go. I think it's going to be quite fun. Very powerful stuff, lots of very spammable moves. I'm hoping to get the best out of Rage Fist, for example. That's quite fun. And yeah, it's got a few little utility options here and there. Nice typing. Good to get a Ghost in. Good to get a powerful fighting hitter. As far as I remember from drafting, I already know. I'm quite rusty with it all, so we'll see how it goes. But yeah, Annihilape going to be coming in, hopefully dishing out a good amount of damage. And I've paired it, I think, quite well with my second pick. When it was coming back around to me, what I really wanted was Iron Treads, because it's good. And because it's good, it got taken, so I didn't get to get that. So I went off in a completely different direction, and decided round 2 to pick up Hisuian Samurott. Now, I didn't play Legend of Arceus, so I've never used a Hisuian Samurott, but it was also on Joey's team, funnily enough. It pairs really nicely with Annihilape. Typing-wise, it synergizes very well, and Annihilape benefits from hazards. Very, very much so. And Samurott, Hisuian, of course, has Ceaseless Edge, another very spammable move. Dark type move boosted by its new sharpness ability that sets up spikes, so that's good as well. I really want to be spamming those two quite a lot. I think they're going to work very well together, especially in conjunction with some of the things I pick up a little bit later on in the draft. So, those two were the first two I picked. Now, as it was coming back to me, Heatran was still available, and I'm aware that Mr. Pokemon Joey picked up Annihilape, Hisuian Samurott, and Heatran as his first 3 picks in some shape or form. And like, I didn't want to do a full copy of the team, but I was like, if Heatran's there, I'm gonna take it. Unfortunately, it did get drafted before I could get it. So one very, very popular draft league steel type had gone, so I decided to pick up another one, and my round 3 pick is Jirachi. Now, I've never used Jirachi in League, but it's very good. It's one of those base 100s across the board, lots of utility, great defensive typing, gives me the steel type that I so desperately wanted. And Jirachi is going to kind of take the role that I used to give to like Mew and Mesprit back in the day, where like it's this quite bulky psychic type that often gets shoehorned into a defensive role, but I want to try and build around it and give it a lot more freedom to do fun offensive things, which it very much can do. Like, yeah, it can go in the defensive, rocks, U-turning, Thunderwave stuff, and it can do what Jirachi does with the whole flinch hacks bullshit. I'm going to try and steer away from that if I can, like I might use it, who can say, in this day and age. But yeah, Jirachi, bunch of resistances, great typing. I think it's going to hopefully be one of my MVPs. That's what I'm aiming for, so we'll see if that pans out. Now, Jirachi does get sort of shoehorned, as I say, into that defensive, sometimes a wish-passing role, and I wanted to counteract that by having something else that does it a little bit better and is more happy to do so. Also wants the fairy, and fairies, they always go quickly. There was one more kicking around when it came back to me in round 4, so I decided to pick up Sylveon. Now, I've used Sylveon before. It is one of the consummate wish passers, going very specially bulky, naturally good offensive stuff with that Pixelate Hyper Voice. It has lost a little bit of its shine when they took away Mystical Fire, so it doesn't do as well against steel types, and that is reflected in its cost. Now, I should say, we had 115 points to spend in total on our base team. Terra Captains come into, I'll explain that a little bit later, but there's more costs going on there. So like Annihilate cost me 16, Samurott 14, Jirachi 15, Sylveon only cost me 11. Because it's lost a little bit of its glamour with some of the moves that it doesn't get anymore. Like I say, chief among them, Mystical Fire, Heal Bell is another one. But it is still a very good wish passer. Baton Pass is allowed in this as long as you're not passing other stats. And I think like my first 8 Pokemon all have initiative gaining, so that's something that I'll be putting into play. But yeah, Sylveon has always been quite a solid pick, and I think it's going to help free up a lot of space for Jirachi to do fun things further on into the season. So, with that gone, we come to the 5th round pick, and this is a Pokemon that I had identified early on as like, I want this Pokemon, I want to use it, it looks cool, I've never used it before, I've never had one of these Pokemon before, because again, I didn't get Legends of Arceus, or Arceus, however the hell you say it. But either way, this is a Pokemon I really wanted. Round 5 pick, I went with Kleavor. Yeah, so Kleavor is another one of those Pokemon that falls into the auto-damaging setup category with that Stone Axe move that does damage and sets up rocks at the same time. I love me a spammable rock move. I mean, Season 2 head-smashing Tyrantrum is a lot more powerful than this, but it still fits in that sort of category. I think Kleavor is going to be good. It's very powerful. It's easily my most physically powerful Pokemon on the squad. And it's decently bulky. It can take a hit or two. It's a very good natural Scarfer. I've got a few of them, so I can really mess around with people's heads and think about where we're going with Scarfs and stuff like that. And it has very potent setup. It was used very well in the first season of this new PPL. So yeah, happy to have Kleavor on the squad. So those first 5, Annihilate, Hisuian Samurott, Jirachi, Sylveon and Kleavor. Now I think they're going to work very well together for a number of reasons. Now there's the reason I explained earlier, which is that Sylveon helps free up Jirachi to do offensive things by taking a more utility wish-passing role. Similar thing with Kleavor. Jirachi doesn't have to set up rocks if Kleavor's sitting there causing damage and using Stone Axe at the same time. With Hisuian Samurott coming in doing the same thing with Spikes, both of their damage-causing, hazard-stacking moves boosted by that new Sharpness ability. They're going to help Jirachi do a lot of work pivoting around, which will all come together to help Annihilate. Now Annihilate has a very, very fun niche as one of the best Pokemon for punishing attempted hazard removal. You know, it's got the Ghost typing to circumvent Rapid Spin, but also it's got Defiant, so anyone trying to defog away all those hazards that I'm setting up runs the risk of giving Annihilate a +2 attack boost with Defiant. So it's going to make people think twice. It's also, I'm hoping, going to force people to run more and more heavy-duty boots. Now, that nullifies a lot of my hazard stacking, but it also means they're not running boosting items, they're not running choice scarfs, and it limits certain aspects of what those Pokemon would normally be able to do. So I think those 5 will work quite nicely together. So, that being said, we get into sort of the middle portion of the draft, and here I really wanted to draft Thundurus Incarnate, but electric types went so quickly, it's unbelievable. Like, I wanted Thundurus Incarnate, that went shortly before. Therian too. Jolteon went like round 5 because it's one of the best Terra Captains you could get. So I was a bit stuck on electric types, but what I really wanted that Thundurus for was the speed tier. I wanted that base 111 speed that Thundurus Incarnate had, and I'll tell you why. And it's mostly because of Ogerpon. Now, all 4 forms of Ogerpon got drafted. I think they'd all been drafted by now, maybe one was yet to go. But they're some of the most powerful busted Pokemon introduced in the Teal Mask DLC. Sitting at base 110 speed with all sorts of attack buffs going on, the one thing they don't do is have the ability to run an item, because they've got to wear the mask thing, which means they're always stuck at that base 110, which means anything faster than that is always going to outspeed them unless they've gone for Trailblaze. And this is why I wanted a base 111 Pokemon. Now, I wasn't able to get Thundurus Incarnate, so I've taken a little bit of a risk if you know my Draft League history. In round 6 I ended up going with Tornadus Incarnate. Now, I think it was season 3 or 4 of the PPL where I had Tornadus Incarnate, and I made a count of this because it was ridiculous. I went for Hurricane over the course of the season, I believe it was 13 times, and I hit 3 in total. It was ridiculous, but this is Tornadus' redemption arc. I'm happy to have it on the team. It has very good offensive stats on both sides, some very useful abilities. It has, as I say, that base 111 speed stat, and of course, it has stab to hit those Ogerpon forms, and that new move Bleak Wind Storm, which is still not as accurate as I'd like it to be, but we'll hopefully cross that bridge when we come to it. I'm happy to have Tornadus back. It's going to be nicknamed Redemption, for one thing. You'll see nicknames as the season goes, but this is a redemption arc for Tornadus Incarnate. We are going to see if it can really take advantage of its second chance on this team. So, Tornadus down round 6. Round 7, I wanted to get in a dragon. Everyone loves a dragon. Lots of the big ones had gone. But there is something new this generation that is almost unparalleled in its utility. And round 7 is when I took that Pokemon, and that is going to be Cyclizar. Now, Cyclizar doesn't have standout stats anywhere aside from its speed, base 121. What Cyclizar does have is almost unrivaled offensive utility. It's one of the rare Pokemon that gets access to all 4 of U-Turn, Knock-Off, Rapid Spin, and Ice Spinner to be able to hazard control, get initiative, get rid of items, and indeed with Ice Spinner, get rid of those terrains which are coming into play a lot more. And it also gets access to it actually gets 2 of the more busted setup moves. One of them is banned. We can't use Shed Tail, which is unfortunate, but can use Shift Gear to get that +2 speed, +1 attack. It's the dragon that I've chosen. It's not the most offensive dragon. Base 95 is not a horrible attacking stat. It's actually my 3rd lowest attacking stat. I've got ridiculous physical offense. It's crazy. But yeah, Cyclizar are going to come in here and hopefully do some fun utility stuff to support the team while getting chip damage here and there. So, Cyclizar down, round 8. Many things my team was still missing. Didn't have that electric type that I was looking for a couple rounds ago, so I decided I want to get that. What I also wanted was a grounded poison type. They're very useful. Toxic spikes are all over the place, and it's always nice to have something that can just come in, absorb them, and get on out. So, there is a Pokemon that fits that entire description. At one point I was looking at like Electros, but then I saw, chilling around the sort of middle tiers of pricing, was my eventual 8th round pick, Toxtricity. Now, it's not something you saw every day in Draft League back in the day, Toxtricity, but it has very, very useful special attack. I really needed another sort of special nuke, and while 114 base isn't massive, it does have that Punk Rock ability that suits it going for like Overdrive and Boom Burst and stuff like that. It's my second Pokemon in a row that gets Shift Gear, which mainly not used for the physical attack boost, it's mainly used for the +2 speed, which is what hopefully I'll be using it for. I'm excited to use Toxtricity. There are a few poison types I was looking at. Salazzle was one of them that falls into a similar category. Small move pool, big niche, and speed and special offense. But I just think Toxtricity does a little bit more than Salazzle ever could. And there were more options for cheap fire types further on down the list, so Toxtricity is the one I chose. Now, at this point I didn't have a massive amount of funds left. Like I say, we started with 115 points. At this point, I had 17 left, and I also hadn't picked anything that could be a Terra Captain. Now, I should explain at this point how the Terra Captains work. You have to have at least 2 Terra Captains. You had an additional budget of 20 points, and through voting and discussing in the admin section of things, there was a list put together of mons that you could Terra. So none of the big ones could Terra up, but decisions were made on what was allowed to be a Terra Pokemon. You have to have 2, and they can have 3 Terra types, one of which has to be one of their initial typings. So, what did I still need on my team? Well, firstly, I needed a ground type. Ground type is very important, they always have been. I also wanted something else that could get some hazard removal in, especially since I lost out on getting Iron Tread so early on. Cycler's Arc and Rapid Spin, and Kleavor can defog, but given that its main move is an attacking move that sets up hazards, you don't want to be running defog on Kleavor very often. So, ground type, cheap, can Terra, and can spin. If you know anything about me in draft, you'll know that I absolutely adore this Pokemon. Round 9 I took Sandslash. Sandslash is my most drafted Pokemon in my Draft League career, and it is not even close. Like, I don't even remember off the top of my head, other than like PPL Season 1, a season where I didn't have Sandslash. It is a massive comfort pick for me. I love getting the most out of it. I've always found it super reliable, and it only cost me 4 points. So I absolutely had to have Sandslash in. It's such a crutch for me, but it's a Pokemon I love using in draft. And it is indeed one of my Terra Captains. So, the types I've gone for here, Ground, had to be done, Grass, and Steel. So Ground obviously had to be, it's its only typing, so it had to be one of the Terra types. Grass is a good option here to nullify some of those Water and Grass type attacks that come in on Sandslash. And Steel is just a good defensive typing. For a Pokemon that's going to be becoming defensive most if not all of the time I use it, that's the one I've gone for. So that's Sandslash out of the way and done. Now, round 10. I should say you have to choose a team between 10 and 12 strong. I've gone middle ground with 11. I had 13 points left to spend here. Now my initial plan was to go with Arcanine and Go-Go, because I didn't have a fire type, I didn't have grass type. Both of those are quite important. And it was actually the snipe of Go-Go that made me change my plan entirely. And I decided to go big on the grass type instead, and round 10, this is the second time I think in a league I've managed to get this Pokemon in at round 10, and it's going to be Shaymin. Shaymin, it was there, it's very good, and I figured I might as well take it, because again, there were much more chances to get fire types further on down. Shaymin, another one of those base 100s across the board. Spammable move in the form of Seed Flare, good coverage with like Earth Power and Dazzling Gleam and Air Slash and all that stuff. Excuse me, I am quite ill as you can tell by the voice. It has a very good set of defensive sets with the likes of Leech Seeding stuff and recovery shenanigans and all that good shit. And yeah, with a lot of Ogerpon forms running around, only one of which has the fire typing to hit Shaymin super effectively, it has quite a useful niche in there to be able to tank hits from some of the bigger threats that came in this generation. So happy to have Shaymin. Honestly, it's probably not going to appear as much as some of the others, despite being a Shaymin, but I'm happy to have it on the team as just something that people have to think about. So, with that done, I had 3 points left for essentially one more pick, and I needed a fire type, I needed ideally a bit more speed, I wanted something that could hit specially, and it needed to be a Terra Captain. And since we are in the PPL, why not take the mascot? round 11 I picked Pyroar. And Pyroar's not to be slept on, you know. Its speed tier put it nicely in between my base 100s and my Tornadus. Base 109 attack is not horrible, it's got just enough of a move pool to make it vaguely viable. And Terra Captaining it is going to really help that. Now the types I chose here were Normal, Water and Fairy. So I've gone with the Azurill to Azumarill line of typings. I prefer to lock myself in on being a normal Terra type than a Fire Terra type. I feel like with the more weaknesses it has, people are mostly going to be targeting it on the Fire typing side. Normal only having that weakness to fighting, which I have a bunch of shit to deal with. Water is going to put off opposing Fire types and give it a nice way of trying to deal with ground and rocks that might want to come in and do nasty things to it. And Fairy is just ostensibly one of, if not the best Terra typing to go for in an offensive role. It's more likely to be going offensive than, say, my Sylveon, which is more likely traditionally to be a defensive support Pokemon. So I think those typings are going to really work for Pyroar. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the team I'm going with this season. Annihilate, Hisuian Sandrock, Jirachi, Sylveon, Kleavor, Tornadus, Incarnate, Cyclozar, Toxtricity, Sandslash, Shaman, and Pyroar. Excited to know what you guys think of that squad. Do bear in mind, of course, like I say, I've been out of the game for like 5 years. I've missed 2 whole generations of competitive mons. I don't know what I'm doing anymore. I barely knew what I was doing before. So this is just me coming in and having a bit of fun with it. Like, I don't really have anything to lose. I wouldn't consider myself anywhere near the position of a favourite for this. I barely consider myself a contender for playoffs. I'm a veteran who's come back. And there's a few of us this season who've done that. I don't think any of us would consider ourselves favourites. There's a lot of new faces to the PPL who are much, much better than me. I'm excited to face some of them. I don't get to face everyone because the PPL with so many people now has changed to more of a playoffs thing than everyone takes on everyone, because if there's everyone takes on everyone, that'd be 13 games and that's too much for anybody to deal with. But yeah, I get to face off against some old foes, I get to face off against some new friends, which I'm very excited about, and you should keep an eye out for those because first battle will be going up very soon. As of putting this analysis up, I believe the first battle will be tomorrow, so on Monday, and then subsequent battles will be every Monday from there. I'm excited for my first opponent. I'm very eager to play her. I'm not eager to play her team, because her team's terrifying. But first up, we get to face off against Frosted and the Copenhagen Sourcebugs. Her links will be down in the description. Everyone's links, I'm sure, will be down in the description. And we'll get to learn more about her tomorrow when we face off against her. But I'm very excited. I hope you are too. Let me know what you think of the team. Let me know how you think we're going to do. But yeah, if you were ever a fan of Parasect Germain, PSG are back. Let's get it done. Well, I'm excited. I hope you are too. But yeah, I'm going to get out of here. I've rambled on far too long. So my final thank you to you all for watching. I guess with that, I will see you next time. Laters.